Hey, so I'm going to do a review of our Amazon milker. I've got it hooked up. So it only has 2 inflations, but they work pretty well. It was only like $170 or so on Amazon. Came in like a week. Came with a tote, came with a teat dip cup. It's hanging up there. Came with the stuff to clean it, came with a charger, so it charges so you don't have to have electricity out where you're milking, which is perfect for us because we don't have electricity out here. It only does 2 teats at a time, but that doesn't bother us. It's still better than hand milking. So it gets one side done in about 5 to 10 minutes and then the other side done in the same amount of time. So we end up being able to do our whole thing about 40 minutes. So we just come out and catch her, and then get her washed up, get her udders clean, hook it up, and then we just sit here. So she came from a dairy, so she was machine milked. She's actually robot milked her whole milking career. So she is not the biggest fan of us hand milking, and that's what we've been doing. But we bought this at the beginning and couldn't get it on because she had so much edema. But now that her udder is back to normal, we've been able to get this to work, and she tolerates it so much better than us milking. We don't get kicked. She stands nicely. She doesn't kick it. It's great. So we prefer it. It was, like I said, only like $170, $180. And it definitely doesn't seem like it's gonna last the longest. But I mean, it has these clear silicone tubes that you can see. So we can see the milk going in. It's under the inflations. You can see there's clear plastic little cones here that carry the milk down to the tubes. And so I can see that there's milk. If she, gets empty and there's no more milk coming out, I can see that. So I can turn it off. Add little stoppers, little valves, so I can turn off the suction of the flow on that teat whenever it's empty before I move to the next one. Also, like that, since it's only 2, it's very light. We don't have to worry about it like dragging on our teats or having to hold it up or anything like that. I just keep a towel to keep those from getting gross. The tubes that carry, this little skinny one right here is the one that pulls the air to create the suction. So milk doesn't get into that tube, so we don't really wash that one. We wipe it down with Clorox wipe on the outside, but we don't have to worry about like soaking it or anything. And then the ones that carry the milk, we just detach all the parts, soak it in some warm, little bit of soap, a little bit of bleach water, let it soak, and then scrub it clean. And it's really not that much extra time. We were hand milking, we were cleaning our bucket and our tote. So at least with this, like, I don't have to have my bucket. I just have my tote, and then I just have these tubes, and they take up a lot less room than the bucket does. And I thought it'd be really easy to clean. It doesn't really add that much time. It doesn't add any more time than it was beforehand, but it saves us a little bit in the actual milking. So, but she's almost empty. So we're really squishy. We're starting to get wrinkly. So she's almost done on this side. Once I see the milk stop flowing, or slow down to like a very small trickle, I'll move her to the other side. So I still strip the teats before I put the inflations on. I still wash them the same, and I still strip them before I put it on there, but that's really about it. It's really not that bad. And one of my goats just came over here. So she's gonna make things difficult, I'm sure. But let me change it over. So I moved it to the next side. Takes no time, and she doesn't kick me like she did when we would change sides when we were hand milking. So much easier. We can usually finish up before she's done eating, so that's nice too. But but she just finished, so she may get sassy, but she's way less sassy with the machine milker than she was with hand milking. But overall, I like it. I think it's pretty easy. It's pretty foolproof. So there's an on-off switch. You can change the pressure with that. This is the charging port. This is the power port. And this is where it pumps the air out. And then these are labeled 1 and 2. These are labeled, so it's easy. It's easy to know where to put the hoses because it's labeled, and it came that way. So it's really convenient. I like the little red valves, so I can easily close. I don't have to worry about getting a plug to put in there. I can just easily close it. So that's really nice. And it's been great. I mean, especially for like a cheap machine. Like compared to other ones, obviously $170 is still $170, but it's still so much cheaper than the, $500, big milkers with the 4 inflation claw. It's annoying to move it over, but not any more annoying than it was to hand milk. So we haven't noticed any off flavor to the milk. If anything, it tastes better, just because she was really bad about kicking over the bucket and knocking hay into the bucket and flies landing in the bucket, and it was just gross. And we just felt like the milk just had a bit of a cowy smell, and it tasted fine. And I mean, we were being as super duper clean as possible, cleaning, but just by the halfway through milking, we just have to give it to the pigs, because she would knock hay with poop on it into it, or put her foot in it or whatever. It was really frustrating, but she tolerates this so much better. Occasionally she'll kick when I'm changing the inflations over, but like barely. Not like she was. And I still have the belly rope on, and that really like minimizes it. But when we were hand milking, even with the belly rope, she was still trying to kick us and was still making contact sometimes, so that was super difficult. But she's doing a lot better now, and there's so much less stress on us. I like the process of hand milking. I think it's really cool. I think it's fun. I feel like we bond a lot, but she just is not the biggest fan of it, and it didn't feel fair to either of us to keep struggling through that. So I think this front one is done. So as you can look and see, there's not much coming out of it, so I'm gonna feel, and that quarter is like flat and wrinkly, so it didn't have much in it to start with. So I just turn that to the off position, release the suction, and then pull it off just in a bag to keep it from getting gross. Even though there's no suction on it right now, I don't want something to fall in there, so I put it in my little clean wash stuff bag while the other one empties. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty fast. It's not bad. For a cheap machine, it works really well. We don't have any issue with it, and we used the inflations that came with. She's got longer teats on the front and slightly shorter ones on the back, but she really has good teats, so it really hasn't been much trouble. But obviously when she first had her baby, we were struggling a lot with getting it on because she was just so swollen that it was like we couldn't fit them on. But a couple weeks later, I was like, I'm gonna try it. Or I guess it was 2 months later. I was like, I'm gonna try it again. Her teats are way smaller, less swollen. I'm gonna try again, and it worked. And it's been amazing ever since. We have a much better time. Look at her. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and I hope y'all are encouraged by this cheap Amazon milker review.